With us today on Island Focus, I have the pleasure of talking with Chad Blair, who is with the Society of Professional Journalists. Mahalo for taking the time to be with us, Chad.
Hi, Lila. Thanks for having me here.
You know, this is a very interesting time for journalists, isn't it?
Oh, boy, that's an understatement. So many people in my industry are out of work, as so many industries across the nation, particularly because of the COVID situation in the last 6 months. I'm very fortunate that as an editor with Civility, Honolulu Civil Beat, we're going strong. We've actually seen our numbers go up. People are donating to us. We're a nonprofit, and I'm very grateful because I think a lot of people feel locally as well as nationally, internationally, that there's no more urgent time for a press, a media asking honest questions, tough questions, trying to get answers to help us go through. So thank you. It's a funny time to be alive, but I'm grateful to be employed and hopefully of being service to folks here in Hawaii.
Free speech could not be more important to your profession, but also to your relationship with the public.
Yes, it's interesting that the First Amendment includes several things. Not everybody thinks about it. I guess you had other speakers talking about it, and I won't dwell on it too much. But in addition to freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of the press, there's also the right to peacefully assemble. And we're seeing that a lot right now. But also that's complicating this situation is, when is your assembly interfering with my own personal rights? And I've been thinking a lot lately about people wearing masks and the mandate from governments that you should do that. That's the best way to ward off the coronavirus. And yet other people saying that's somehow striking down on my civil liberties, that you forcing me to wear a mask, giving me a penalty of some sort, a fine if I don't do that, is undemocratic or un-American. And that's one of the things that's really on my mind right now, because starting at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, you have a president who just in the last 24 hours, as we record this, said, yeah, masks are important, but they're really not the most important thing. Let's get a vaccine, conflicting his own director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. And that kind of mixed message is really frustrating. And that's why I think it's so important to have the media trying to get the exact record, to rely on what the scientists say and compare that to what others say and try and find out who's right, who's wrong. So that is very much on my mind right now when I think about freedom of the press and the First Amendment.
Well, and when we talk also about an individual's right to express their opinion, I know you're talking professionally, it gets very complicated.
It does. I think if someone wants to get together in a rally and not wear a mask and be closer than 6 feet, that's their right. They can do that. And in many cases, the police are holding off on doing anything about that. I went to Ala Beach Park the other day and there was a rally. It was Trump supporters, but it was also people that want businesses to reopen, who feel that it's a tyranny to force them to wear a mask. But I also support their fundamental right to do that. And if they do want to risk getting sick, or if they just don't believe that COVID-19 is a serious threat, they have every right to do that. But when you take that belief and you force it on others and say, well, I'm going to go to Long's or I'm going to go to Safeway or Target and I'm not going to wear a mask, that's where your rights are interfering with somebody else's rights. And in this case, possibly life or death situations. And that I can't really understand. Civil liberties are important, but what about decency? Being respectful of another person's space? Is it that big of a deal to wear a mask to go pick up a gallon of milk? And then you can take it off wherever else you go after that. So that's something that concerns me a great deal, that somehow your rights are more important than another person's rights.
Well, and in the field of civic education, that I participate in, the word civility, to be a civilian, to be a citizen, and to be civil, in Hawaii especially, where we live here because we care about each other, and it's in our blood. How does that play out with free speech?
Well, by the time this airs, it could be that the COVID situation and the lockdown and the shutdown and the regulations may have evolved yet again. We'll hope that things are better. But as we speak now, I myself am frustrated that I can't go to the beach with a friend or a family member, that I can't go hike in a trail without someone with me, that I can't go to a park, because that's the current regulation that is on Oahu. We'll see how that lasts. But here I am now, in many ways, being somewhat sympathetic with that other point of view, saying, well, wait a minute. I mean, I understand I'll wear my mask and so forth, but even I can't go to the beach with a friend, with a girlfriend, with my mother. That really frustrates me tremendously as well. But you know what? I am following the rules. I am abiding by the laws. And when I see police officers doing their job, I respect that. It's a real balancing act, isn't it, Lila? Really trying to strike something that gives us some sort of sense of equilibrium. And that seems all out the door right now. The last 6 months have been just crazy.
So in closing, as we wrap up this conversation for today, and the role of free speech in society and from your profession, some parting words of inspiration.
Don't give up the fight. Don't give up speaking out, speaking up when you feel that you need to. Despite all our problems in this country, we still have the right to say how we feel. And don't let authoritarian figures try and tell you otherwise. Don't accept their view that something is fake news when in fact it's produced by serious professionals that are doing a very good job to try and get what's right. And by the way, when we get something wrong, we acknowledge it and we correct it. Stay hopeful. I think transparency, accountability, and free speech is really what's going to help get us through, as well, frankly, as good science and people being patient.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. And if I can punctuate your last comment, also aloha.
That's a word that cannot be understated or overstated. Thanks, Lila.
Thank you for being with us, Chad.
Sure.
Thank you for joining us on Island Focus today and meeting Chad Blair, who is with the Society of Professional Journalists. Mahalo.